Hello, my name is Keenan Gore. I am a physical therapist assistant here at Cox Health uh, in Springfield, Missouri. It's nice to be doing this presentation with everybody out there. My presentation topic is the role of technology in modern healthcare. If we look at the topic itself here, the purpose of this presentation is to examine the impact that technology is having on the modern healthcare system, right? So we'll be looking at the pros, we'll be looking at the cons, we'll be looking at some concerns that people have with the modern healthcare system in general, okay? And technology, its huge impact on that system, okay? The main objective of this presentation is to satisfy the rules for CVTP level 2, and so I'll jump right into it. My key points, as you can see, are kind of layered out over the the sides of the laptop that's on my screen here. I actually found this preview here actually kind of ironic, as you can kind of see people are using laptops, but then they're also still kind of reverting back to their old days, putting things like paper on top of technology. I found that very ironic. We have a lot of our clients and our end users are doing things like that. Instead of documenting them inside of the system, they'll do things like they'll put sticky notes around the edge of their computer. So I found that kind of ironic as people's kind of resistance to change in technology. Speaking of resistance to change, let's talk about concerns first. Okay, what were some big concerns with the role of technology in healthcare? Okay, first of all, people were worried about who can see their electronic health record, right? And if their health record is sold, is it no longer relevant? Does it just disappear entirely? Is it going to be the same health record but transferred over to someone else? There was huge concerns for people. They were curious what would happen with their electronic health record if it was sold to someone else. And our advertisement is going to be showing up on my health record. If you look anywhere on the internet, you're going to see advertisements. So people didn't want those on their health records for good reasons. And then lastly, will physicians accept access on a need-to-know basis, right? Are they only going to start looking at my health record whenever it's pertinent to them, or are they always going to have access to it? Right? Those are some big concerns for people. People had some huge privacy concerns, right? So that brings us in some big disadvantages of the electronic health record. Right, the first one is the big one, the cost of installation, maintenance, and upgrades. That's huge. That's a huge cost. You got companies like Cerner that are actually coming in and able to provide this great server, but it's a huge, great service, but it's a huge cost and undertaking for someone who wasn't paying nearly as much for their previous system, right? It requires new training and brand new workflows. For someone going from paper onto an electronic system, maybe they didn't even have computers before, that's a huge change in workflow. Lack of interoperability, it's really easy to hand over a paper chart from one provider to another. However, not always does the electronic health system transfer from one to another. It can be tough to transfer over. Depersonalize the doctor-patient relationship. That is the huge one. If you look at the way technology has impacted these three pictures that are on the screen in front of you, you'll see that technology is a huge barrier to the relationship that doctors and providers have with their patients, right? So you can see the two on the end, the providers aren't even looking at the patient to respond. And there's so much distance in that picture in the middle. It's very impersonal, right? But do maybe the advantages outweigh the disadvantages? Right? So that's what we're going to look at next, is how does technology really impacted in a positive way on the healthcare system. So the big advantages are stated in the screen here. Now, remote access to patient data, that is huge. You can access your data from anywhere. The record is legible. I have on the right side of your screen here a written doctor's note. I can make out maybe the word ultrasound in that note. That's about it. So it's much harder to read. This improves patient safety, making sure that they're getting the right treatment, right? If you can actually read the record, that makes a huge difference. Access to better patient education. It's at your fingertips. We can access patient education all over the internet instead of just having to handwrite something or pull it out of a file. A more accurate electronic health record. That is huge. We want that health record to be accurate. We don't want inaccuracies showing up in our health record. So now we're going to look into some more specific advantages, looking at what technology has done in the healthcare system so far. So the first one's going to be telemedicine, right? The remote delivery of healthcare using telecommunications and teleconferencing equipment. Okay, you don't have to be right there in the room with your provider anymore. People can call in on their phones or use iPads to set up appointments with their providers. That allows the patient to link with the doctor remotely. You don't have to be right there. And then telemedicine equipment like heart rate, respiratory rate, pulse oximetry, every patient has a tele on in the hospital so that someone can monitor that equipment and monitor that data without having to be right there in the room with the patient. That is huge. Okay. Moving right along here, we'll talk about technology's impact on clinical medicine. Patients now can have access to their own medical records. Patients want access to their own home medical records. They have access to everything else. They have access to everybody else's information on social media. They definitely want their own information in front of them. Billing software has greatly improved. The insurance claims process has improved dramatically, right? Now you don't have to send things off by mail waiting for insurance claims to be approved. You can do it right there at the click of a button. Very fast. And things like computer-assisted surgery. The robots are being programmed to assist surgeons, where surgeries were too risky before. Robots are being more precise and able to complete that more safely for the patient. Okay, moving right along here, we'll talk about pharmacy next, right? Barcode scanning has made a huge impact, making sure we have the correct patient, we have the correct medicine, we have the correct dosage, right? That is huge for the patient to know that they are getting the correct medicine, right? Huge for the providers, so that way they know they're not giving the wrong medicine to the wrong patient. And that way the system can check on the back end if a patient is using some sort of drugs that is interacting with medicine in a different way, right? The system's always checking for that, making sure that those drugs are going to react appropriately. That's huge. Sending out alerts and reminders when medications are due so those appointments aren't missed, that is awesome. Let's talk about radiology next, right? These three images below have improved dramatically over the year. X-rays, PET scans, CAT scans, ultrasounds. Like, who doesn't have a picture, if you have kids, of an ultrasound picture on your refrigerator, right? That's huge. Years ago, that wasn't even possible, and now it seems so common. So people get so excited for their ultrasounds. That's amazing. It's made huge strides in these diagnostic tools. Rehabilitation and convenience, right? Rehabilitation has improved dramatically because of technology. Prosthetics are better. Wheelchairs are better. Therapy rehabilitation technology has improved dramatically, right? If you're looking at the picture that I have shown below here, you're seeing what someone's able to walk on a treadmill and may not have been able to walk before because of the weight that's being taken off and calculated by the system. That's huge, very huge. Therapy has improved dramatically because of technology. And then convenience, dictation documentation like Dragon or other recording devices have made documentation that much easier. Typing is much faster than handwriting and obviously more legible, right? Ease of access is much, much, much easier now for someone to have access to their electronic health record. And the last section that I want to talk about on how technology has improved the modern healthcare system is education. Education has improved dramatically because of technology. You have so much at your fingertips available to you. Education training, teachers have so much more material that they can use and utilize to improve their students for the future, as well as simulation technology, sim labs. Our clients are able to practice so much more than they were ever able to do before. You don't want your first time to be while a patient sitting in front of you performing surgery, right? So that all to say, kind of to summarize, those are the huge advantages and disadvantages, the concerns that go along with technology. I hope you enjoyed my presentation. Here are my references below, and yeah, I encourage everyone to keep an open mind to technology. Don't be closed off to technology because it's making huge, huge strides. Okay? Have a great day. Thank you for listening.